Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Ikara, there lived two beautiful sisters named Eno and Idara. Eno was the older one. She was 2 years older than her sister, but they looked and behaved like twin sisters. Eno and Idara both loved themselves dearly. However, they were very different. Whereas Eno had to struggle for every single thing in life, Idara enjoyed favor and things came to her very easily. Eno had to write WAEC twice before she passed and even wrote JAMB 3 times before she could get admission into the university. Meanwhile, her younger sister Idara would usually pass all her exams in one sitting. As a matter of fact, she even got admission before her older sister. Idara and Eno both went to the same university, and even in school, everyone favored Idara. They all liked her. It was as though Eno was invisible. But Eno did not bother. She was already used to being the least favored one. A few years later, and they had both graduated from the university. And as usual, Idara's life was very easy for her. As a matter of fact, she got a high-paying job in less than 2 months after she graduated, and thereafter even moved to the big city, Lagos, to start up her new life. But her older sister Eno could not get a job despite her best efforts. So while Idara was busy living the big girl lifestyle in Lagos and enjoying her life, her older sister Eno was still living in their mother's home and going from one unsuccessful job interview to the other. Eno was very sad. She was always in tears. She wondered why she had to be the unlucky one, why she was not as lucky as her younger sister. And 3 years down the line, things had not changed for Eno. She was still very jobless, living with her parents and eating their meals. Meanwhile, her younger sister Idara was already in a very serious relationship with a wealthy man named Ame. Ame worshipped the very ground that Idara walked upon. And barely 3 months after they started dating, Idara and Ame both got married in a very lavish wedding ceremony. Idara was so happy. Her husband spoiled her silly. He pampered her and always tried his best to make his wife happy. Yes, Eno was happy for her sister, but within her, she somehow wished that her life was progressing, even if it was just 20% of the progress that Idara's life was taking. And barely 1 year after Idara got married to her husband, she took in, and some time afterwards, she gave birth to twin beautiful babies, a boy and a girl. Idara was so happy, and her husband Ame bought a mansion for her as a push gift to show his appreciation for giving him two healthy babies. So one day, Idara called her older sister over the phone and said, "Hi, Eno. I was thinking, since you do not have a job yet and you're not really doing anything substantial back at home, I was thinking if you could come and stay with me for a while in Lagos so you could assist me in looking after the children. I know, yes, I have several helps, but it's not the same thing as having your own blood around. You know that you cannot trust these people nowadays. Besides, I promise you that if you agree to come, I'll put in a good word for you with my husband and see if he can use one of his connections and secure a job for you." Idara said convincingly. Then Eno just replied Idara and told her that she was going to think about it. Eno did not even know whether she was to be happy or upset. Look at my life. Almost 6 years after graduation, and nothing to show for it. No job. All the businesses I have tried starting have failed woefully. Oh yeah, what of marriage, Uncle? No man is asking to be my boyfriend. Not to talk of even marrying me. My life is just stagnant. That is why my younger sister Idara has the guts to invite me over to her home to come and become a glorified nanny. And no. So this is what your life has been reduced to. Hi! And no. And no said aloud to herself, tears streaming down her eyes. So the following day, Eno called her sister Idara and told her that she was going to come over. Idara was so happy and thanked her sister profusely. So the following day, Eno flew down to Lagos. When she got to her sister's house, she was very shocked. Idara's house was very beautiful and reeked of money. Eh? So my sister is living in this kind of magnificent house with all these beautiful cars and maids at her beck and call. My sister is a big woman, no. Eno thought to herself while staring at the house like a naive girl who had just come from the village. Idara was so happy to see her and welcomed her happily. Ame, Idara's husband, made her feel very comfortable. Eno was very happy. She was living like royalty and she cared for her nephew and niece with so much pride. The first few weeks she spent in her sister's house, everything seemed to be going on just fine. But then Eno began to notice some changes in her sister Idara and her husband Ame. She saw that her sister Idara was not a good wife to her husband or even a good mother to her children. Idara did not even know what was happening in her home or to her children. Idara completely left the running of her home to her domestic staff. It was her maids that planned what to cook in her home and cooked the food, and even served her own husband. It was even the maids that bathed and fed her children. They were even also the ones that kept the children's immunization dates and even took them to the hospital for their immunization. Idara literally had no idea how her children were taken care of. Idara was free spirited and would go out to clubs at night, partying, drinking, and dancing with several young men. Eno was very shocked and did not know that her sister lived such a carefree and careless life. Eno pitied her sister's husband Ame because he seemed very sad. Eno had seen Ame not once, twice, or even thrice, kneeling and begging his wife, saying, Idara, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to us? Am I not enough for you? I thought that after you become a mother, you will stop all this carefree lifestyle and start caring for us, your family, and start being a wife and a mother, but nothing seemed to have changed. Ame would say, crying and pleading with his wife. And instead of his wife to be remorseful, or at least pretend to be, she would scream at him and say, what is it? What is it? Do you want to cage me? In short, I'm tired of this marriage. I'm leaving. After all, the children are not even yours. Idara would scream angrily at her husband, and Ame would immediately fall flat on his face and cry and beg, saying, please, my love, I'm sorry for questioning you. Please, please do not leave us. I know that you're just angry. You just said the children are not mine out of anger. Ame would say, pleading. Eno was shocked at what her eyes had witnessed in her sister's home. This life no balance. Oh, see me praying to God to send me any man, and see my sister here taking for granted the good man that God has given her, treating him like trash, and even threatening him that the children are not his. What kind of woman does such a thing? Hey, now wow. Eno would say, looking very disappointed. And later that day, Ame bought beautiful jewelry sets for his wife as a way of apologizing to her. He always bought her gifts after every argument, just to say sorry and to restore peace in their home. So as Eno spent more time in her sister's home, she began to see even more things that made her very upset with her sister. Apparently, Ame would usually beg his wife to even fulfill her marital obligations to him, but she would still refuse. Eno was starving her husband. And as if that was not enough, Eno discovered that her sister Idara had a secret lover. Eno had sneaked in on Ame, praying fervently for his wife to change. Eno felt really bad for her brother-in-law, so she decided to speak to her sister. So one day she called Idara and said, Idara, what you're doing to your husband is unfair. He is a good man and does not deserve to be treated the way you treat him. If it were some other men, they would have thrown you out of their home by now. You have a good man and two healthy children to build a home with. Please do not throw it away over your childishness. Do not take your husband's love for granted. Love him back, please, I beg you. Eno said, looking very worried. I cannot believe that you, Eno, think that you have the right to advise me on marriage. Wonder shall never end. I know, yes, you're my older sister and all that, but come on now, you are not married. Can you even remember the last time that you were in a relationship or even felt the touch of a man? Please, 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 don't even start all that with me. This is my home, my husband, and my children, and I'll treat my husband as I wish. And do not forget your place here. You're simply a guest. If you do not like the way I treat my husband, when you marry your own, treat him as you like. Idara said as she walked out angrily on her sister. Eno felt very bad for her brother-in-law Ame because Ame was always sad. Sometimes he would even sit in the parlor crying and weeping. Ame was too gentle and he loved his wife Idara too dearly, and she knew it. That was why she abused it. Sometimes Idara would even go out for days and come back, let's say, after 3 days. Yet Ame would not do anything about it. He would not even be able to question her. Eno could see that Ame was dying slowly, so she decided to step in. So Eno began spending much time with her brother-in-law, Ame, just gisting and talking with him and trying to lift his spirits. They would sit for hours laughing and eating. Eno would even enter the kitchen and cook delicious native meals for Ame. Ame was so happy. And to appreciate his sister-in-law Eno, he began to buy gifts for her. In short, they began to even go out together with the twins as though they were family. They would spend quality time together. Meanwhile, Idara did not know because, of course, she was always out and about, from one club to the other, or even in her lover's home. And soon enough, Ame began to develop feelings for his sister-in-law. He knew that this was wrong, but he couldn't help himself because Eno was sweet, homely, and kind. He wished he had met her first. However, one day, Eno was sitting very close to her brother-in-law, Ame, and they were busy, laughing and gisting as usual. When suddenly, Idara walked in on them. She stared at them and she could see a spark of connection between them. And for a minute, jealousy rose up in her. Hi, baby, Idara said as she walked up to her husband and sat beside him. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were around, Eno said as she stood up. Then Ahmed turned to his wife Idara and said, I'm tired, my dear. I need to go inside, Ahmed said as he stood up and walked out of the parlor. Then Eno faced her sister and said, what in God's name do you think you're doing with my husband? Why were you gisting and laughing with your 32 teeth open with my husband? Are you okay? Idara asked, fuming in anger. How can you say a thing like that now, Idara? We're just gisting, talking, nothing serious. Eno replied, looking hurt. Well, get ready to go back to our parents' house tomorrow, first thing in the morning, because I cannot be harboring a snake under my roof. Oh, you think that I do not know what you're trying to do, Abby? All those advice you're saying, Idara, please treat him well, please treat him well. Oh, so you have started developing feelings for my husband, Abi? Under my very roof. You're a liar. You must be a joker. Idara screamed angrily. And Ame, who by this time had not yet reached his room, turned back and walked straight to the parlor and said, "Who are you saying is leaving my house? Hey, is this your house? If there is anyone that should leave my house, it should be you. You are a terrible wife and a terrible mother. I do not even know how I put up with you for this long. Your sister is everything you are not and that you can never be. And I wish that I had met her before you." Ame screamed angrily at his wife, Idara. Idara could not believe her ears. At this point, she broke down in tears and said, "Hey, help, somebody help me, help me. My sister has snatched my husband from me. My sister has used jazz on my husband. Oh." Idara wailed loudly. So the following day, Ame took his children to run a DNA test on them because each time he quarreled with his wife, she would scream at him and tell him that he was not even the father to their children. So Ame needed to be sure if they were really his or not. So a few days after that, and the results were out, the twins were not his. From the hospital, Ame drove straight to Ikara and dropped the twin babies with her parents. And as soon as he got back home, he pursued his wife out of his house. Idara screamed and pleaded, saying, "My love, it is me, oh. It is your Idara baby, the love of your life. Look at me, my love. Look into my eyes." Idara said, crying and pleading with her husband. But then Ame replied his wife and said, "I wonder why it took me this long to see it. You have been taking my love for granted, taking my kindness and good nature all for granted, and I am done. I deserve to be loved too. And your sister has shown me what true love really means. So I'm done with this toxic marriage." Ame said to his wife angrily. And then Idara turned to her elder sister and said, "No, please, please help me beg my husband. Please speak to my husband for me. No, do you want to be the reason that my husband sent me out of the house? Do you want to be the reason that my marriage crashes? Remember that we are not just sisters, but we used to be best friends too." Idara said, pleading and begging with her sister. But Ame quickly interjected and said, "Oh, please shut up and do not drag your sister into this nonsense. Was it your sister that took you to nightclubs and parties? Was it also her that made you keep a lover? Was it also her that got pregnant for another man and pinned the children on me? Idara, for crying out loud, I loved you. I loved you so much. I would literally do anything for you. Yet you took it for granted. I am done. Go and meet your parents. I have sent the children there already. After all, I ran a DNA test and it shows that they are not even mine. So now you are free. What you've always wanted, now you have it. Go and live your carefree lifestyle under your parents' roof. I love Eno and she's going to be my wife." Ame barked angrily at Idara as he pushed her out of the house. Eno did not know how to feel in all of this because she knew that she had started developing feelings for Ame too. And she knew that Ame was a good man and that her sister had not truly been fair to him. So a few days later, and Ame asked Eno to please marry him. Everything was happening so quickly. Eno knew that it was wrong to accept the proposal, but accepted it regardless. She was scared because she's usually not lucky in life. She was scared that if she let Ame go, she would not find another man to marry her. Besides, she told herself that she was not responsible for her sister's actions. So a few weeks later, and Eno and Ame got married. Eno was so happy, and Ame was much happier. He hadn't felt so much love and peace in a long time, and he was glad that he sent his wife Idara away. This time, he spoiled Eno silly And a few months later, Eno got pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and they were both very happy. Meanwhile, Idara was back in her parents' house, struggling with her twin babies. Almost every night, she laid awake crying and thinking. She knew that her husband was a good man and that she had taken his kindness for granted. She did not expect Ame, who was so good to her, to change overnight because of how soft and weak he was. But she realized that she deserved it. She wished that she could turn back the hands of time, but it was too late. Hi, besties! It's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? Do you think that Eno was the reason why Ame had the guts and the liver to finally stand up to his wife and send her away? Also, if you were Eno, would you really marry your sister's ex-husband? Like, even though your sister was bad to him, your sister was maltreating the man, beating him, cheating on him, and all those stuff. If their marriage failed, would you really go and marry your sister's ex-husband? Like, is that right? Under any circumstance? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section, and please support your homegirl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye! Many years ago, in the busy market of Ikotun, there lived a woman named Iyabasira. Iyabasira was a food vendor and sold food at the market. Everyone came from far and near to buy from her. Her stall was always crowded. You would always see people stretching out their plates and fighting for space on her long queue. Even the rich men in their agbada would park their car by the side of the road and come out with their plates to struggle for a plate of food. Iyabasira's restaurant was extremely successful. Some mothers had even sent their daughters to learn under her so that they would also open successful restaurants like her. But yet, none of them ever prospered when they set up their restaurants after learning from her. So in a short while, tongues began to wag. Some other food vendors who were not having as much customers as Iyabasira began to spread rumors around that she was using jazz, and that was why she was selling out and was more successful than them. But Iyabasira paid no attention to those rumors. Instead, she simply focused on her business. Iyabasira was a very wealthy woman. As a matter of fact, if you met her outside of her shop, you will not be able to recognize her. Because at her shop, she was always sweaty and dirty while cooking. Her shop was not even so fine or polished. Instead, it was more or less like a shanty house, even though she could buy and build a restaurant to an international standard. But outside of her business, Iya Basira lived in one of the choicest places on the island in Lagos. Her home was very big, beautiful, and magnificent, and she even had maids at her beck and call. When she went for parties or Owambe, she was usually dressed in expensive clothes and wore gold, from her necklaces to wristwatches, earrings, and even bangles. Iya Basira had several luxurious cars. She was big and rich. Iya Basira had only two children, a boy and a girl. And because of the kind of money that she had, she sent her children to the UK for their high school. Iya Basira was rich, and one would have thought that she would no longer be selling food in that her dirty shanty shop in the market, and maybe even open a more befitting restaurant. But Iya Basira never stopped. As a matter of fact, she was very diligent. She would show up every day at her shop as early as 5 a.m. And she and her head chef, Babatunde, would begin cooking immediately. Even though Iya Basira had an assistant chef, she never allowed her to assist in preparing the food. It was only her and Babatunde that cooked the food that they sold in the market. Fame of Iya Basira's restaurant had spread far and near. People had even started inviting her to cater to their events, be it weddings, birthdays, and even burial ceremonies. Iya Basira would usually only accept the contract if the person who had contracted her agreed that she would cook the food from her shop at the market and now take the food to the venue to share. Iya Basira was literally always overbooked. But Iya Basira behaved very strangely. Whenever it was the 21st day of the month, she would close up her shop and travel. And even though she had capable hands that could cook and run the business in her absence, Iya Basira would completely shut down the shop from the 21st of the month up until the 25th of that month. And she did this every single month. What she did during those days, nobody knew, but she was very consistent at it. And things continued like this for the next few years. So a few years later, Amiya Basira's daughter Yetunde had graduated from college. She had done her university education in the UK and she read law and came back to Nigeria for her law school. Yetunde finished law school with a first class and was super excited. Her mother Iya Basira was also very happy for her. However, a few weeks after her law school exams, Yetunde wanted to relocate back to the UK so she could get a job and start practicing. But one morning, her mother, Iya Basira, woke her up and said, Yetunde, Yeti Mama, Omo Mommy, Omo Mi, my daughter, Omo Dada, good child. You will not be going back to the UK. You will need to join me in the family business. Iya Basira said to her daughter very sternly, hey, which family business? You mean selling food in that dirty market at Ikotun? Are you kidding me? Like, is this a joke, mom? You expect me, Yetunde, a dual first-class lawyer that already has job offers in the UK and even in Lagos, to leave it and come and join you in selling food in that your dirty little shop? This must be the joke of the century. Speaking of which, mom, I wonder why you still sell there. You literally have enough money to open a restaurant of international standard. Yet, you choose to remain in that dirty local place. Yetunde said, looking very disgusted. Yetunde, please for once listen to your mother. This matter is not up for debate though. If you do not join the family business, the repercussion will be great. There is so much at stake. This is a family business that should be handed down from one generation to the other. At least one of the girls in this family must join the business once they clock 26 years old. If not, something terrible would happen. Oh, you're my only girl child and you have clocked 26 years old. So it is time for you to join the family business. So you cannot and will not go back to the UK. Iya Basira said, looking scared. Wait, mommy. Are you serious right now? Wait, sorry. I'm sorry for laughing. But I can't control myself right now. Mommy, as in you want me, Yetunde, to come and cook and sell food at your local restaurant? Me? You must be joking. That will never happen. I do not care about whatever stupid reactions or repercussions there might be. I am not doing that, and that is final. Yetunde replied firstly. So a few days later, and unknown to her mother, Yetunde packed all her bags and fled the country. Yetunde returned to the UK. When Iya Basira found out that her daughter had fled the country, she fell down on the floor and broke down in tears, screaming and wailing, This girl wants to kill me, oh. Yetunde will kill me, oh. Iyabasira screamed out crying. She tried calling her daughter severally, but she wouldn't pick up her call. Meanwhile, Yetunde had settled down in the UK and had even started working at a law firm. Life was going on just beautifully for her. But one day, Yetunde was at work when she suddenly slumped. Yetunde was then rushed to the nearest hospital by her colleagues. And even though she regained consciousness, that day marked the beginning of one diagnosis or the other. Every day it was as though she was getting worse. Yetunde, who had not spoken to her mother since she fled Nigeria, decided to call her mother because she was afraid that she might die. Mommy, I am sick. The doctor says that I have cancer, that I'm also diabetic, hypertensive. I might even have a stroke soon. Mommy, please, I do not want to die. Yetunde said, weeping bitterly. Ah, oh mommy. Yetunde, this is what I was trying to warn you about. You cannot just turn your back on the family business and walk away scot-free. You know what you're going to do for me? Just come back to Nigeria first. I promise you that everything will be okay as soon as you return back home and join the family business. Iya Basira replied anxiously. So Yetunde, against all medical advice, boarded a flight and returned back to Nigeria. Yetunde was very weak when she got back home, but the following day, her mother took her along with her to her shop at the market as early as 5 a.m. to go and cook food. And as soon as Yetunde got to the shop, even though she did not join in the actual cooking, rather she just sat and watched her mother and her head chef Babatunde cook. But immediately she went to that shop, she began to regain her strength. All the pains and fever and weaknesses that she felt disappeared. And she continued like this for 1 week. And within that week, all the symptoms that she felt had also disappeared. Yetunde even had to go to one of the best hospitals in Lagos to run some tests. And lo and behold, all the cancer, diabetes, hypertension, and every form of sickness that she had disappeared. There was no single trace of sickness in Yetunde. Yetunde was shocked. She had never seen anything like this in her life. So as soon as she got back home that day, Yetunde sat her mother down and said, Mommy, please make this make sense to me. How could I have been so critically ill in the UK with the best medical care and even at the point of death, yet not recovering? But just coming back home and following you to that your restaurant, and I am fine. I am completely well. Mommy, please, what are you not telling me? Yetunde asked, looking very perplexed. Then Iya Basira responded and said, My dear, remember how much we suffered when your father died? You know, at some point, I got tired. I got tired of all the suffering and decided that I wanted to be rich. I was tired of being poor. So my friend took me somewhere, and that was when the prophetess told me to do something, which I did. And that was how we became very wealthy. And part of the condition that she gave me after doing it was that this was going to be a generational business and that at least one of my daughters must join the business as soon as she clocks 26 years old. If not only will that daughter in question die, but every other member of the family would start dying one after the other. And that was why you suddenly fell sick. I'm so sorry, Yetunde. Iya Basira replied, looking very confused. What, Mom? How could you enter such a covenant? How could you do that? How could you strike a covenant with the devil? Don't you know that this is bondage? So wait, what is the point of all my education and why did you even bother sending me to the best schools in England? if you know that I will end up as a food seller in the dirty market of Ikotun. Yetunde screamed angrily. For many days, Yetunde stayed up, locked in her room, thinking about all that her mother had said. No, 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 no. I cannot end up on the roadside selling food. What will my friends say? Especially when they see me. So what would happen to my legal career? Yetunde said aloud, crying. But Yetunde realized that the more she stayed at home, the more she began to fall very sick. She was getting weaker by the day because she had stopped following her mother to her shop. Yetunde knew that at this point she had no choice than to resume following her mother to the shop. And immediately she got well again. So every single time that she went, Yetunde began to notice strange things. First off, she noticed that it was only her mother and Babatunde that were allowed to cook the food in the morning. She also noticed that Babatunde would usually come to work every day with a black polythene bag, and that he would usually pour the contents into a big basin of water and wash it thoroughly. And then he would give her mother the dirty water, which the mother would use to cook the food for the day. When Yetunde asked her mother what Babatunde brought to work every day, Iya Basira replied and said, Omo Omi, since you will be taking over the running of this business, it is better that I start telling you how we function here. So what Babatunde brings here every day is human parts from the mortuary, and we wash them thoroughly and use the water to cook food, and then bury the parts in the compound. And that is why we do not eat the food that we sell. Iya Basira replied her daughter, Ah, mommy, is there no wickedness in high places? You mean you use dead body to cook? Jesus, I am finished. I am finished. Mom, please, I want no part in this. How can we have to stop this nonsense? How can we stop this nonsense? This is unfair. Yetunde asked, tears streaming down her eyes. I'm sorry, my child, but there is nothing that we can do to stop it. I tried stopping it several years ago, but I nearly died. What is the point of having so much money, yet I have to come here and cook every day? And that is not all, oh. I still have to close up the shop from the 21st to the 25th every blessed month and travel down to Togo, where I have to behave and pretend to be a mad woman for those 4 days before coming back to Nigeria. The prophetess did not tell me all this. She didn't tell me all this part until after we had done the sacrifice. She didn't tell me that I would do all of these things. Iya Basira said, looking very sad. Jesus, I am finished. I can't do this. I am finished. And mommy, this is what you want me to take over. This is the inheritance and the legacy that you want to pass down to me and my unborn children. And you want me to pass the same to my children. No way, I can't do this. I am not doing this. Yetunde replied, crying. So after that day, Yetunde was always lost in thought. She knew for a fact that this was not what she wanted for her life. She was a lawyer, for crying out loud. So Yetunde started looking for a solution. She started going from one prayer house to the other, anywhere at all that she heard she could find a solution. She went there. She even went to a river priestess. She went to places that a Christian had no business going. And they all told her the same thing, that for her and her unborn generation to be free, that she had to expose her mother and Babatunde, which would mean that people would lynch her mother and Babatunde and would kill them and would definitely burn down the restaurant to the ground, and that it was the only way for her and her unborn children to be free. For many weeks, Yetunde battled within herself whether or not to do this. For crying out loud, this was her mother. Her mother that had single-handedly raised her and her brother since they were kids. So how could she be the one responsible for her mother's death? But on the other hand, Yetunde knew that selling food in the dirty market of Ikotun was not her calling. She wanted to practice. Besides, she knew that she could not be using the water from dead people to cook. Neither did she want to be traveling to Togo every 21st of the month to roam mad, or at least pretend to be mad for 4 days. And she definitely knew that she did not want this for her unborn children. So after a few months of giving it a good thought, Yetunde made her decision. So one day, she followed her mother to her shop as usual and hid and videoed her. She captured every single thing that she was doing from start to finish. And after a while, she left the shop and then posted the video online. Meanwhile, Iya Basira was busy serving food at the shop in the afternoon when suddenly all her customers who were on the queue and waiting to be served started checking their phones and looking shocked. And soon, they all started talking and grumbling at the same time. Wait oh, this woman, they use dead body water, they cook food where we dey chop. The crowd screamed in anger and then all began to throw their plates at her angrily. And before Iya Basira could say Jack Robinson, they lynched her and Babatunde and set the both of them on fire and even set her shop on fire. Her shop burned to the ground and Iya Basira and Babatunde were burned to death. Meanwhile, Yetunde sat at home weeping because she knew exactly what was going on at her mother's shop right then. She knew that her mother was probably dead by now. And a few hours later, the news was everywhere. Iya Basira's shop was a popular restaurant, so everyone knew her. So it was no surprise that the news shook the internet for the next 2 weeks. But that was not all that happened, because all Iya Basira's properties also started getting burnt to the ground. Everything she owned was getting destroyed. It was either the government was seizing them or they were getting burnt mysteriously. Yetunde was very shocked. She did not know how powerful the covenant her mother entered was. Like they literally lost everything. They became very poor. Yetunde did not even have enough money to book a flight back to the UK. Yetunde was literally stranded in Nigeria. Even her younger brother, Jide, if not that he was already in his final year in the university when all these things happened, he would not have had money to pay for his education and would have dropped out. Yetunde was sad that she was now poor, but was happy that she was now free from the bondage of the restaurant. So Yetunde went ahead and got a job in Nigeria and started from scratch. And even though she was happy that she was free from the restaurant, she missed her mother and would sometimes weep at night, knowing that she was the one who had killed her mother indirectly. Hi besties, it's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. If you were Yetunde, what would you have done? Like, would you have continued with the covenant of selling food using human parts to cook and, walking around the streets of Togo for 4 days mad? Would you have done that so that your mother would leave? Or would you have exposed your mother just as Yetunde did, even though you knew that it would cost her life? What would you have really done? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section, and please support your homegirl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories,